5 weeks ago, our nation was robbed of this extraordinary champion. He was a champion in every way. I got to know him so well. He didn't like losing. And he was able to fight people that were enemies. And he didn't necessarily love those enemies so much. You know, I heard he loved his enemies. And I said, wait a minute, is that the same Charlie that I know? I'm not sure. But I didn't want to get into it.
Surprisingly enough, he did pray for his enemies, which is very hard, but he did. He did. He did.
So that is Donald Trump speaking, giving an insane speech, quite frankly, at a ceremony in which he's posthumously awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk. And a recurring theme throughout this speech, in addition to Trump's lies, is how much he, and according to him, the late Charlie Kirk himself, hates Democrats, liberals, and leftists. It's a pretty unhinged thing to say when you're trying to honor this person. And the thing that we have been hearing, a constant refrain from conservatives and Republican commentators, is that Charlie Kirk was very much the ideal of the Christian, disagreeing in good faith, hate the sin, love the sinner sort of thing. And Trump saying, no, I think Charlie Kirk hated the people who disagreed with him, as much as Donald Trump said that at the Charlie Kirk memorial speech, that he, Donald Trump, hates Democrats as well. It's just a really unhinged thing to say when you're trying to honor this person and you're ostensibly an ally of them. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play in this insane speech, again, full of falsehoods and attacks on liberals and leftists and Democrats, starting with this.
But I would not have missed this moment for anything in the world, nothing. And it's a very important time for our country, and our country is doing so well. It's never done better. We are a country with almost now $18 trillion of investment coming in. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. Previous administration had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We have more than 18, it'll be much more than 20 by the time the year, more than $20 trillion. There's never been a country in the world that had anything like that.
So again, this is supposed to be a speech in which he is commemorating and honoring Charlie Kirk. And if you're keeping count, keeping score, he's kind of insulted Kirk's memory by suggesting that Kirk actually hated liberals, progressives, leftists, and Democrats and the people he debated, which again runs contrary to what we've been assured by Charlie Kirk's fans. And then number two, he's talking about himself and his accomplishments. But then number three, he's actually lying about those accomplishments in this speech, which is supposed to be about honoring Charlie Kirk. As Daniel Dale of CNN notes, Trump has inflated his imaginary figure from 17 trillion to 18 trillion-ish, even as the White House website continues to say 8.8 trillion, and even though that smaller figure is a big exaggeration. Here's a fact check. So let's take a look. The White House doesn't show that $8.8 trillion is, quote, being invested now in the United States, or even that there have been $8.8 trillion in credible Trump-era commitments to make eventual investments into the U.S. Rather, the White House list includes $600 billion from EU firms, even though the European Union has made clear this is merely an estimate of potential private investment, not an actual commitment. $600 billion from Saudi Arabia, even though the Saudis' vague $600 billion pledge encompasses both investment and trade, now simply Saudi investments in the U.S., $500 billion from India, even though the two countries have said the $500 billion is a goal for, quote, bilateral trade, not Indian investment into the U.S., and so on and so on and so forth. So Trump is lying his ass off about himself at a speech which is supposed to be about Charlie Kirk. Not good. Once again, proving Trump is a sociopath. Trump couldn't help but also bring up the fact that Vice President J.D. Vance was recently humiliated by ABC News host George Stephanopoulos.
Thanks as well to Vice President J.D. Vance, who's been fantastic. J.D., thank you very much. Great. Doing a great job. Did a great job on Sunday with George Stephanopoulos. I thought put him away pretty good.
Well, as we've seen that clip repeatedly, no, it was Vance who got humiliated and triggered after he refused to answer a question in good faith. And George was like, you know what? Well, I guess there's nothing really to talk about. I asked you about this, this, and this, and you refused to answer. Thank you for your time. And he actually cut off Vance mid-sentence, and Vance was like, no, George, wait. And then George's like, yeah, whatever, and moved on. It was a Chad Alpha move by George Stephanopoulos, and Vance was humiliated. So Trump is trying to save face because ultimately by humiliating Vance, Stephanopoulos was humiliating Donald Trump himself. So he takes it personally. Here's another clip.
Thank you very much. Many members of my cabinet are here. Just about all of them are here. I won't go into every single one of them, but I'll announce a few of the people that have really turned this country around and helped me. Incredible people. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Where is Mike? Mike?
Okay, so this is this just goes to show that Donald Trump is really stupid and he doesn't know, again, fifth grade civics whatsoever. So he's talking about his cabinet. He says repeatedly, my cabinet, members of my cabinet. I won't go through many names or every name, but I'll identify a few. Republican Speaker Mike Johnson. So the Speaker of the House of Representatives is in the legislature. So Donald Trump is the head of the executive. The cabinet is in the executive branch. It's not the legislative branch. And by federal law, you can't occupy a role in two branches simultaneously. So somebody should explain to Trump, again, fifth grade civics, there are three branches, Mr. President. You are in charge of the executive branch. Your cabinet is under you in the executive branch. This guy, Mike Johnson, it might seem like he's part of the executive branch given how much he kisses your ass and doesn't really do anything independent of you. But he's the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is part of a bicameral legislature. And then his eyes would probably just glaze over and he'd collapse into an aneurysm. But again, just goes to show how stupid Trump is and objectively unqualified he is for this job. Here's another clip.
What a job you're doing, Mike. What a job you're doing. And I watched you this morning and you're in there trying to say, look, just let the country open. Everything will be fine. We're dealing with some radical left lunatics. And I just wish Charlie was here to fight us. I think the fight would have been over already. He would have had a march on the Capitol by people whose average age is about 21, because there's nobody that had that relationship with young people, right?
There was a lot. That was a weird thing to say. There was a lot wrong there. So I don't know if you caught it, but he didn't say, I wish Charlie Kirk was here to fight with us. He said, I wish Charlie Kirk was here to fight us.
Fine. We're dealing with some radical left lunatics. And I just wish Charlie was here to fight us.
To fight us. Why do you want Charlie Kirk here to fight you? Wouldn't you want him to fight with you? Number one. Number two, again, he can't help but, once again, it's a recurring theme, openly insult the Democratic Party, half this country. You're radical left. You're terrible. Far from being a unified person, right? And again, the thing that we have been told about Charlie Kirk is that, again, he was trying to bring people together through peaceful debate, even though he disagreed with people, right? And it was all in good faith. So again, Trump is still violating the spirit of that. And then three, talking about Charlie Kirk having people march on the Capitol. The last time that Charlie Kirk contributed to a Trump march on the Capitol was January 6th. Charlie Kirk was involved in that. tpusa was actually, I believe, busing people in, if I remember correctly. So that's pretty ominous. Are you suggesting that because of the government shutdown, you wish Charlie Kirk was here to help you engage in an insurrection against the federal government? What are you talking about, man? It's probably not the thing to say. Again, it just seems like this guy's totally uninterested in honoring the memory of his late friend who was brutally assassinated. It seems like it's more like a roast than anything else.
His final moments, Charlie testified to the greatness of America and to the glory of our Savior, with whom he now rests in heaven. And he is going to make heaven. I said, I'm not sure I can make it, but he's going to make it. He's there. He's looking down on us right now. It's so incredible. Look at this, how this turned out. This was supposed to be so dark and cloudy. Not dark and cloudy, is it? Look at that, how beautiful that is. There's no artist that can capture it as beautiful as it is today. Wow. His final.
He's just like a child. He can't help it. Again, because he does. I'm genuinely convinced he doesn't give a shit about Charlie Kirk. He really didn't. He thought that Charlie Kirk was a useful tool and propagandist for him, but otherwise he has no personal connection to Kirk. And he's like a child, and he's sort of like external stimulus. He can't help but oh my gosh, like it's so sunny, it's so bright. No artist. Again, it's just pure sentence fragment, one syllable to the next. This guy doesn't know what he's doing, and he can't deliver anything other than an insane speech because he just doesn't give a shit. Here's another clip.
Nothing could have ever supplanted this. It's incredible the way people are talking about him, and with great love. I mean, I read so many stories about some of the enemies, but I watch the enemies, and It's hard for them to speak badly about him because they just don't. And then you do have people in the days since Charlie's killing, we've seen exactly why our country so dearly needed his example. We've watched legions of far-left radicals resort to desperate acts of violence and terror because they know that their ideas and arguments are persuading no one. They know that they're failing. They have the devil's ideology, and they're failing, and they know it. They feel it, and they become violent.
A lot to unpack there. So again, Trump starts to freestyle, and he's like, you know what? Even Charlie Kirk's opponents can't say a bad thing about him. They're being really civil and honoring his memory. And then literally right the next, he's like, but we've also seen like a bunch of people being really hateful and terrible, just totally contradicting the previous sentence. And then again, part of the recurring theme. What does he do? He doubles down on this idea that Democrats are evil. They have the devil's ideology. Like, what a way to speak about somebody, especially from a religious conservative, a Christian conservative perspective. Like my opponents, my critics are of the devil. Hard to make a harsher condemnation of a person inherently than that, and Trump does it. It's stunning. The hypocrisy, the just total dissonance between what this event is supposed to be about versus what he is making it, pretty staggering. And then, of course, there's another external stimulus. He hears a noise, and he can't help but, like a child, just chase it around and paw at it. Listen.
Even killed, they come in from Indiana, they come in from Iowa, they come from Florida to see their nation's capital, and somebody would have to call the parents, I'm sorry, but your son or your daughter's been killed. Not anymore. You hear those sirens going off? That's good. That's a good sound. That means they either got the bad guy or they're going to stop the bad guy. You didn't hear that sound because nobody wanted to do anything. Nobody. Listen to the beauty of that sound. Seriously. And that's the real deal sirens. They're not politically correct sirens. You hear them?
Politically correct sirens. And by the way, you're in Washington, D.C. I thought you said you solved crime. I thought you said crime doesn't exist. I thought you said Washington, D.C. you single-handedly made the safest place on earth because you're just so damn good. Unless, of course, you were lying the whole time. And there's still crime in Washington, D.C. And we have reason to doubt and speculate, about your true ulterior motives. And it's just so stunning to me that Donald Trump can be contradicted in this way. He's such an inveterate liar, and easily distracted. Politically correct sirens. Like, we shouldn't be hearing sirens at all if Washington, D.C. is the utopia you've made it. And I want to close with this. Charlie Kirk, his widow, Erika Kirk, at this posthumous event, contradicting Trump with what he said earlier. Because again, what we've heard about Charlie Kirk is he loved his enemies and he prayed for his enemies and he did not hate them. He disagreed with them, but it was all in good faith and it was the good Christian ethic. Trump again at Charlie Kirk's memorial is like, I'm not that way. I hate my enemies. I hate Democrats. And then here again at the beginning, Trump's like, and by the way, I don't think Charlie Kirk really meant that. I think he hated his opponents too. I think he hated the Democrats just like me. Here's what Erika Kirk had to say.
Surprisingly enough, he did pray for his enemies, which is very hard, but he did. He did. He did. No one else, I saw him do it. No, he never did it in front of anyone else, but I can attest to that. But he also loved people when it was inconvenient. And he ran his race with endurance, and he kept the faith. And now he wears the crown of a righteous martyr. And for me and for our children, the truth really steadies our grief because heaven gained what earth could no longer contain.
So again, speaking about her husband, and I can't imagine, I know she's loyal to Trump, but there has to be some part of her thinking, Jesus, why are you giving this speech? I know why he's giving this speech, but somebody who actually gave a shit about Charlie the way she did probably should be the one doing this. Maybe even like Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson would take this far more seriously. And again, just the clumsiness of Trump there. Actually, no, he did pray for his enemies. And Trump's like, oh, I don't know what that's like. It's embarrassing. It really is. And so it's stunning that she had to She had to correct him in this way. But good on her for doing so. And again, it's just such a foreign concept of disagreeing with somebody without hating them. Donald Trump can't possibly fathom. There you have it, folks. One of Trump's most insane, selfish, dishonest speeches at a time when he should be thinking about somebody else who really did try to serve him, as Charlie Kirk did. I disagree with Charlie Kirk. Not a fan of Charlie Kirk even now. He should not have been killed. He's certainly not brutally assassinated. But it just makes it abundantly clear that the contrast here is stunning. Erika Kirk loved her husband dearly and respected him. Donald Trump didn't give a shit and didn't really know him at all. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.